Hello, and welcome back to another exciting and riveting episode of Coffee and Cuddles. I'm Coffee as always, and with me in the studio is my lovely, perky, quirky sidekick, Cuddles.
So grab a mug and join us, won't you?
Oh my goodness, how's your week been? My week was I had a very exciting weekend. How about you?
So I was getting to the tail end of my winter break, and I got to tell you, it ended in a very interesting way.
I don't know if I would use the word interesting. For me, it wasn't interesting. For me, it was very real, very in my face, literally in my face, and a little nerve-wracking at times.
Okay, well, maybe I'm being sarcastic when I say interesting. Everybody notice I'm using air quotes? Actually, you can't see that. So anyway, I'm using air quotes because when I say interesting, my last day or so of vacation did not go the way I kind of anticipated. And I even managed to get one extra day, not in the way I would want an extra day, but I got an extra day.
Why? I don't know what you mean.
Oh, you know what I mean. And right now we've got several listeners that are scrunching their faces in a what are they talking about? Get on with it way.
Oh, so we should move on to what the actual incident was and not just...
No, why don't we keep stretching it out and making them wonder as they go through mug after mug of coffee, and it's probably not decaf. So they're probably drinking the caffeinated one with lots and lots of creamer. Now they're getting very antsy and anxious and shaking. And I apologize if you like caffeinated coffee or decaf coffee. I don't mean anything by it. I'm trying to be funny. Although coffee here is giving me the look like, shush.
This is a hill I will die on. Decaf coffee sucks. That's my statement. That's my position. It's not real coffee. I don't know why you drink it.
Thoughts expressed by coffee do not reflect the views and thoughts of Cuddle. All right, so
against lawyerly advice, I've taken a stand.
We have lawyers?
Makes a note. Go get a lawyer. Okay.
Funny. So, all right, so let's get into it.
All right, so I will set the scene for you. Everything was fine Saturday. No issues, no problems. I mean, I always have health issues. There's always something going on. You know, they say if you feel pain in your left arm or numbness or whatever, it could be a heart attack. But my issue is I am always in pain. I'm always, you know how a doctor will ask you, like, what's your pain level on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm always like a 6 or a 7. That's just my life now. So my 7 may not be the same as your 7. Anyway, everything was fine. We did the lunch thing. I think we went to your school that day too, didn't we?
Yeah, we went to my school to do a little bit of work until I just kind of got overwhelmed by the whole thing. We went to one of our most favorite places, Taco Surf. And yeah, I mean, everything was fine. We did our radio show on T1 Radio, and, you know, wound down the night, got ready to sleep, and around, 2:00 in the morning, I hear the dog starting to whine, and Craig, telling the dog, I'll take care of you. And that's where things went wrong.
You might say things went askew or awry even.
Wrong. Things went horribly wrong.
Awry, not like rye bread, but awry like in a strange way.
Good grief.
Just so we're clear. So, as I said, picture the scene.
Do-re.
It's roughly 2 a.m. California local time, if you will. I don't know what time it is where you were, but
Pacific Standard Time.
But my time was 2 a.m. So I take the dog out, and I start feeling a little odd, a little strange, if you will. Like my face started going numb. The left side of my face started going numb. My lips are like all tingly, and they're also numb at the same time, which is a weird dichotomy to have, like no feeling but tingling. It was very weird. I thought my speech was a little bit slurred. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. My vision was a little bit wonky. So I'm sitting up on the side of the bed trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with me because I've never experienced this before. I was lightheaded. I was dizzy. I was just a little bit on the disoriented side, a little bit from what was going on, and a little bit because I was freaking out because like I said, I'd never felt this way before. So Anna was awake and she asked me what was wrong. And I said, I think there's something wrong with me. Would you look at my face? So I turned on the light and she's kind of squinting. She said, looks all right. I said, I don't think I'm okay. What do you want to do? I said, I don't know. Maybe I should go to the ER. I don't know. So eventually we both got up. We got dressed and I said, all right, call 911. Because at this point, I don't know what else to do, but I'm like even more in a panic mode now. So it probably takes about 20 minutes for the ambulance to show up. Maybe it wasn't that long, but it felt like that long. So they come in and they're asking me what's going on. They're checking me out and they say, well, you look all right, but we're not sure. Let's get you to the ER. And I got to tell you that this is my angel on earth. This is the one that was sent to watch over me. I know that sounds hokey and it sounds cliche, but honestly, I honestly believe that if I was anywhere else or with anyone else, I might not have been taken to the hospital as quickly as she set the wheels in motion.
So here's the thing. So he goes to take our dog outside, comes back in. He's starting to feel like he's not okay. And something caused me to wake up. He didn't call my name. He didn't nudge me. Just something caused me to wake up. I wake up to find him sitting on the side of the bed. And I asked him what was wrong. And he said that he doesn't feel good. He tried to lay on his left side. He tried to lay on his right side. So he knows he can't lay down. And like he said, I asked him what he wanted to do. And he said he really didn't know. So I decided, I'm going to start getting up and figuring out what to do. And he's wandered into the, I'm going to call it the great room because it's kind of a living room, dining room sort of vibe going on. And he's sitting there and I said, look, we can go ahead and head to ER right now. And he's telling me he's not really sure what he wants to do. So I'm getting ready because I know we're going to do something. And he appears in the bathroom doorway and says, would you hate me if I said I wanted to go? So he goes back and he sits down. And that's when he really started to get panicky because I was probably not more than a foot away from you. And he said, you look blurry. And I said, that's it. I'm not driving you. I grabbed the phone. I called 911 and gave him all the information. And they said they were going to send a unit out. So naturally, we hear sirens. I run out thinking they're coming. And the way our cul-de-sac is, or the way the numbers on our house are, if you're not really looking for where the numbers are, you could drive right past the house. So I decide to run out there, which you should probably wear a jacket when it's really cold in the morning. I decide to run out there, only they're not coming for us. There's shouting off in the distance. So I figure they've been dispatched to that call. I run back in to check on him. I hear sirens again. I run back out, flag the guys down, bring him in. They're asking him questions. And basically they decided, okay, we're going to transport. So it's the way our front door is, trying to get a gurney into the house takes a lot of skill. And they asked Craig if he thought he could exit the house to get on the gurney. And all I'm thinking is he is dizzy, nauseous, can't feel his left side. His lips are going numb. He can't feel the left side of his face. You want this man to get up and walk? So, of course, I'm right by his side because if he's going to go down, I'm going to catch him, even though there's a ton of medical personnel and firefighters. I'm like, if he's going to fall, I'm going to catch him.
Yeah, I have absolutely nothing but high praise and thankfulness for the is it Lakewood Fire Department or is it LA County? I think it's LA County, right?
I believe it's LA County. I want to say it was Station 94 that came. It was either 94 or maybe it was 45. I'm assuming it's the guys that are right by the house, but
they were professional and
yep.
They were awesome and they put me right at ease. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't really nervous anymore. And to go back to your point about the gurney, when you hurt your knee over the summer, they tried to get a gurney in here because they couldn't get you up the stairs.
Yep.
Because of the way your knee was. So yeah, it's maneuvering, and it's like picture the episode of Friends where Ross had the couch, was trying to deliver the couch to his apartment. There's a lot of pivot to get in here. So I'm like, yeah, if I think I can walk out the door. I don't know. I'm kind of disoriented at this point. I'm not 100% like mentally aware of what's going on, but they got me down the 3 steps onto the gurney. And it was, I don't know if it was just because it was chilly out or because there was something wrong with me, but I was like shivering and shaking on the gurney, and they put a blanket over me and everything. They got me in the gurney and they took my information and everything, and they got us underway pretty quickly. It's the fastest I've ever made it to the hospital, which isn't really far away, but they got us there in what I felt like was record time, mostly because the streets were empty because it was like 3 a.m. by this point.
And of course, unless if it's a situation where it's a child, I know the parents can ride, but I didn't want to be without a vehicle because at this point we don't know what's going on. So as soon as he was loaded, I grabbed my stuff, I jumped in my car, and there was no way I was going to let this ambulance go any faster than me. So we got to the hospital. It wasn't the one that I was kind of anticipating we were going to, but these guys were really good, and they kind of know which hospitals are the most impacted in terms of their emergency rooms. So I made sure I knew where we were going. We take off, we get to the hospital, and I guess this one was impacted, but not as much as the other option to transport him to. So we get there, they get him out of the ambulance, and there's I'm going to call it a bay. I don't know what else to call it.
It's an ambulance bay.
So there's already somebody on a gurney waiting, and they take him out of the ambulance, and now he's behind the first person who's waiting. It's probably 39 degrees. He's already shaking, and their solution is put another blanket over him. The poor guy is shaking.
Yeah, it was like violent shaking because I was so cold. And I don't know how long I was out there. I had really like no sense of time that had gone by or anything. It didn't feel like it was that long, but you know, in that kind of situation, you don't really know how much time has passed by because you're not looking at a watch or your phone or anything. So it probably wasn't very long. And the doctor came out and he started assessing me. And, you know, they finally brought me inside, and they took me right away to have a CT done to find out what's going on, because they were thinking stroke or something like that. So that was relatively quickly. And then they took me into the ER, I guess ER bays. I don't know, because it was a wide open area, and it wasn't really rooms or anything or cubbies or whatever. It was like areas that were curtained off, literally by curtains.
If you've ever been to an urgent care, it's like that, where it's separated areas just by curtains. Not meant honestly for long term, but they had every one of those filled. They had one for Craig. They had every one of those filled. They had patients in the hallway.
There was like 5 or 6 patients in the hallway.
So they were really busy. And all I could think of is, okay, you know, they got the CT done. Now they've got us, you know, in bed 2 is what they called it.
The staff was great. They were like right on top of everything, and they were doing all the testing, and they got me hooked up to an IV, and they were drawing blood, and they were doing all these things, and they got me on the monitor and the blood pressure cuff. They were really good. They sent me for an MRI.
Now,
which was interesting because I have a horrible history with those, because the first time I had an MRI, I had a panic attack, and I didn't know what a panic attack was until that moment. So I was, to say the least, apprehensive about them doing another MRI. I'm like, what are my options? You have the place I went to in Texas had a stand-up MRI. So imagine a big MRI machine turned on its side and you stand between the two plates or whatever. They didn't have that. So what did they give me? Ativan?
Yeah. So I had, as soon as the doctor mentioned that an MRI was next, I explained that, he's been through a wicked panic attack before. Is there a possibility of doing a stand-up MRI? And he said he didn't think there was a possibility. He'd see what the options were. But yes, they could definitely do things to make it easier on him. Ativan to help keep him calm. A nasal cannula so he feels like he's getting enough oxygen, which was awesome. I mean, they didn't say, oh, there's nothing we can do. They looked for options so that he would be able to do this MRI. And they allowed me to follow for the CT scan. Obviously, I wasn't in the room while the scan was being done, but they allowed me to follow for that. And then our dog is being
Get down.
cantankerous. So then I asked about the MRI and I said, Is there any possibility I can go with you? I don't want to be in the room, but maybe that will keep him calm. And of course, the first thing I'm told is it's a very small room. That's not possible. So I get, I'm sitting there waiting while they've gone to take him for the MRI.
So the MRI went pretty smoothly. I think the Ativan had probably started to kick in almost at the time they were done, of course, because that's how drugs work. But I made it through. I didn't panic. I was all right. And, we're still waiting. And I'd seen the doctor come back. Well, before they sent me for the MRI, he mentioned this amazing clot busting drug. They call it the clot buster or whatever. It's some kind of miracle drug that will break up any clots that are blocking, your blood flow to your brain. And I'm like, I don't know. That sounds kind of scary. He said, because in like 1% of patients, it can cause brain bleeds and other things.
And unfortunately, not too long ago, I lost one of my very best friends to a brain bleed that unfortunately came on very quickly, and he didn't make it.
So we talked about it, and we waited. And I said, well, let's wait till the MRI comes back and see what's going on. So luckily, and thank God, there was no clots in my veins, or there's no bleeding in my head or anything. My brain was okay. They didn't notice any dark spots on the MRI, but they did tell me that my carotid artery is like 70% narrowed. Apparently you can't say blocked anymore or blockage because that probably offends somebody, or I don't know. I don't know why they don't do that anymore. But I do have a 70% blockage. So
narrowing.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I did it
I
anyway.
was the one who thought they had said blockage, but apparently I misheard, and it was never blockage. I also misheard which artery they were talking about. But between the doctor and the neurologist, they determined that this drug was not actually going to be necessary. So we were very thankful to hear that. And I asked about the CT scans and the MRI and what's going on. And at first, the doctor told us there was no stroke. And I thought, oh my goodness, thank goodness he didn't have a stroke. And that's when the neurologist came in and explained that it had happened, that he had what they call do you want to tell them what it's called?
They called it a TIA, a transient ischemic attack. Thank you. So that's the new fancy term for mini stroke. I guess that's more billable to insurance companies than mini stroke if they add these fancy names onto it. So no, as far as I know, no long-term damage. I need to follow up with my primary. I follow up on Wednesday, so hopefully everything will come back all right. But they started me on the baby aspirin once a day and Lipitor or
for high cholesterol.
Atorvastatin is I guess the other name. So at some point, someone should have told me that I had high cholesterol. My primary that I was going to see dropped the ball because they've done blood tests because of for A1C, and they've done blood tests for other things because I'm a diabetic. So every other time I go see them, it's a blood test. So you would think at some point someone would have looked at these tests and said, hey, by the way, your cholesterol is a little on the high side, or it's very high, or something. At some point, the words your, and cholesterol should have been mentioned to me, but never was, because I know, as difficult as it is to change your diet overnight, I did it when my A1C was at 13.2. I pretty much cut out every bad thing that I had ever been eating. And I dropped my A1C down to 6.2 or 6.3, somewhere in there. So if I knew that, if I had known about the cholesterol, I would have started eating better. I would have done other things. I would have been in better shape, because now I'm in the high risk category for a stroke, like full blown stroke out, who knows what's going to happen kind of brain event. So I'm worried about that now a little bit, and I'm anxious about what's going to happen and what's going to happen going forward to me. But this is kind of like the PSA portion of our show, because we like to be funny, we like to be entertaining and everything, but we also like to be educational. If you think that you're even close to the at-risk category for a stroke, Google signs of a stroke. Have your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, whoever you live with, have them also familiarize themselves with the signs of a stroke, because there's like a 30-minute window from when it happens to the point of no return, where they really can't do much for you. But apparently, with this wonder drug they were talking about, if you get to it within 30 minutes, probably plus or minus a few minutes on either side, I wouldn't push it much past like 32 minutes, just to be safe. But apparently, if they give you this, they can reverse most of the symptoms or most of the effects of a stroke. So I am now very familiar with what they are, like numb face, drooping chin, or drooping cheeks. Something about the way you can't smile right.
That's where they look for the drooping.
Right. Weakness in one or both sides, all these numbness, all these things that are signs of a stroke. So definitely go out there and do your research, figure out what's going on, go get checked up by your doctor, have a blood test done, just for laughs. Say, hey doc, while I'm here, why don't you draw my blood and see where I'm at? Because I had no idea that my cholesterol was that bad, because no one ever told me. And usually most of the checkups I've had done, it's always been your cholesterol is fine. So I don't know when I went from fine to, oh my God, to 70% narrowing. I don't know when that happened. It obviously didn't happen overnight. It happened through years of horrible eating and eating crap and eating garbage and fast food and all these things that you shouldn't eat. Basically anything other than like a green leafy diet may lead to this. Now, there are people that'll say, oh, maybe it's because your sugar was high for so long. And maybe it is. I don't know that cholesterol is necessarily bad or good. I know there's like a good cholesterol and a bad cholesterol. And if one is good, the other one's usually not so bad or something. So I don't know.
So here, you're probably still back on transient ischemic attack, wondering what that is. And basically, like Craig said, it's a mini stroke where it is a very temporary blockage of blood flow getting to the brain. And by the time they started the CT scans and the MRI, it had actually corrected itself. So what he had, in fact, been through was a mini stroke. But of course, when the doctor is telling me that the CT scan is negative and the MRI is negative, and I'm thinking, oh, so he didn't have a stroke. That's when, we spoke to the neurologist and found out that, yes, this was in fact what it was. So I want to share with you what it's like from my side, because like we said back in episode 1, our vision for this podcast is to kind of be like, what our relationship is like. Not that we are in any way trying to tell you what your relationship should be like or giving any advice, but from our point of view. So imagine, it's after 2 a.m. and you've woken up and your husband, significant other, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever definition you use for your loved one, is going through a medical crisis, and you don't have time to panic. You need to be the one who's going to get them through this. And that's what I had to do. I had to be the strong one. I had to be making sure that questions are getting asked, things are getting answered, that we have information. And it was a very long few hours. I was there till, 6, 7 o'clock, because we got there probably 3 a.m. I was with him over 12 hours in the ER before I finally realized, I need to go home, check on the dog. I probably need to get some sleep.
I had to kick you. I literally almost had to get out of the bed and kick you out of the ER to make you go home.
Now, hold on. In my defense,
I was the same way when you went in for your breathing issues. I was the same way. I was there overnight, and I didn't want to leave either. But I was
kicked him
tired.
out.
And same thing. We had to make sure the dog was okay and everything. So yeah, that's the kind of partner that you want. Somebody like this.
So at one point I did excuse myself to go out and make a phone call to my administrator, because I had decided at this point, I'm not going to work. I'm going to stay until we have everything figured out. And now, of course, he's about to hear this for the first time because he's not aware of this. When I stepped outside of the hospital to make my phone call, that is when I broke down. And that's when the tears flowed, and the praying and the, being worried and everything. That's when I let that happen. I didn't want that to happen in front of him. So I stepped outside and just kind of fell all to pieces, and then took a breath, went back in, started all over again. Something else that Craig had mentioned, talking to your doctors, and, if you haven't had blood workup, getting it done. But something else that I want to point out is when you do have any kind of medical testing, whether it's routine blood work or whatever it is, if you don't have a patient portal where all this information gets uploaded to, make sure that you ask the doctor to let you see the results. Don't let them open up a file folder, read from the file folder, shut the file folder. Make sure that you actually see the information, that you see what those numbers are. Because if we had been able to see the information, see the printouts, we would have had an idea what was going on as well.
Yeah, my primary does not have a very good portal. It took me probably 6 months to get them to give me access to it, because I would ask and they'd say, "Oh, we'll get to it." And then the next time I would go in and say, I still haven't been able to do that. So I finally got access to this quote unquote portal there, but it doesn't include like all the testing and doesn't include all the things. So I'm looking for a new primary care doctor. If you're in the LA area and you have Medi-Cal and you know a great doctor that accepts that, please let me know somewhere.
Send
email
us,
me,
send us
smoke
email.
signals. I don't care.
Contact us through social media. Please let us know. So I went home, took care of what I had to at home, came back, and at first they weren't willing to let me back into the ER because they had not updated his COVID information. They had only the first result, which said he was COVID positive, but that was on the fast test. Then they ran the antigen and it came back negative. So they hadn't updated it, and they really didn't want me back there. And I just wasn't going to take no for an answer. I said, I'm the one who's been here all night, and, I need to be allowed back there. I'm the one who needs to be here if there's an issue. So I went back. We were there for several more hours. I think all in all, we were there for 30 hours because they never did have a bed that they could send us up to, either because the department was full or because they were short staffed. And I understand that.
They were short staffed.
It's very, very stressful for doctors, nurses, teachers, any frontline workers. I know how stressful it is. So I am in no way upset about the fact that we were in the ER so long. Better beds would have been appreciated, but
absolutely. Yeah, the ER beds are not meant to sleep.
So, I wanted to make sure that I was there, that I was hearing the information, that I knew what to take care of when we came back. And when it's your loved one who's going through something, you want to be there and make sure that you're there to be their support system and help them through it. So I am very thankful that I was there to get Craig through what he needed to go through. I have a wonderful administrator who, understood about my needing to take a day because I needed to be at the hospital. And I just spoke with her this morning because I will be going with Craig to his follow-up.
She's got her notebook ready.
My notebook and all my questions. So I, explained the situation about needing to take half a day because I needed to go on to this follow-up. And she was very understanding. We have got wonderful family and friends. I think I've spoken to two of Craig's brothers and his mom, more than I ever have before. So we've got a really great support system, family, friends, and I'm very thankful that he's still here.
I too am glad.
Well, I know that you are glad too, but
I like being here. So
here's the thing, with Craig and I, we have been there for each other from way back when we first met on Second Life. And we've been there for each other through what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've been there when times are great and fun. We've been there when things are kind of rocky. And with this most recent incident where it is downright ugly. So we're strong for each other to get, one another over the rough patches, and McCoy is being cantankerous. So yeah, I know this is a very serious episode tonight, but we want to be, I don't know what the term is. We want to be, I don't know what the term is. It's like real, or we want to be
transparent.
Thank you. That's the word. We want to be transparent. We don't want to be, one of those where, things are, full of skits and whatnot. Not that we don't like those. We really do.
Right. It's not always puppies and rainbows and sunshine
lollipops and
Skittles, and it's not always that. Life is real. Life sucks sometimes. Life is hard. It can be difficult, but the important thing is that you have a united front with your partner always in all things. Even if you don't necessarily agree 100% on all the components, you need to be act as one, I guess, because she was there for me and she made sure I got seen, and she made sure she asked the right questions because I was out of it. I was not a very good listener or observer. I was more worried about what's going on with me at that point, and I wasn't feeling very well. So I'm very thankful that she was there to do that for me. You need an advocate. If you can't be an advocate for yourself, you got to have somebody that you can rely on.
Exactly. So, that coffee cup is getting really, really empty, isn't it?
It is.
So I don't know if you have any parting thoughts. My only parting thought is keep an eye out on family, friends, loved ones, make sure they're doing okay. And if they, seem like they're, not having a good day, or you just get the sense that something's not right, always make sure to check in and just say, hey, how's everything going? And, if somebody asks you how everything's going, be real. If things aren't going well, don't be afraid to say that things aren't going well. The world changed when the pandemic hit. Things really changed, and we need to, make sure that everybody around us is doing fine.
No real parting thoughts or anything. I'm trying to find a joke that Sinbad told.
So while he's looking for that, he's almost got it. So while he's looking for that, we will be here next week as always. Again, we want to thank everybody who has been listening in. If you've been having your family, friends, neighbors, listen in. We truly, truly appreciate it. This is the first podcast I've ever been part of. So this is all brand new territory for me. So we absolutely do appreciate you always being there. And if you ever have any questions for us or things you want us to talk about, absolutely, contact us through social media, drop us a line, because we love to hear from you, and we're there with all the questions. Did you find the joke?
I did.
Okay.
And to avoid any copyright infringements or anything, I do not own the rights to this joke. I'm reading it from the IMDb website, so it's fair game. So bear with me.
So this is from Sinbad's Where You Been 2010 TV special. Take it away.
All you men 55 and older trying to date a girl in her 20s, are you out your mind? She wants your house. She wants you to die. If you keep messing with her, you will. You want a woman who will understand the signs of a stroke, a woman who has your medication in her purse. You want a woman who is your nurse. If you go out with an older woman and your lip starts to curl up, she will know what to do. She will get you to a hospital, just like my girlfriend did, and save your life. But a girl who's in her 20s will say, quit making faces at me. It's not funny anymore. And now you're stroked out for the rest of your life because the little cute girlfriend didn't know the signs of a stroke. She will say, can I have your house now? Since you won't be needing it anymore. So date somebody who can recognize these signs of a stroke. Male, female, whatever, it doesn't matter, but find somebody that's going to have your back. Find somebody that will carry your medication in her purse or in their backpack or whatever, and just be careful. So to mirror what Anna said, we thank you all for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. We will be back next week. The good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. We love you all. As always, this is just my 2 cents worth and her 2 cents worth. God bless, and we'll talk to you.
And your own mileage may vary.
Yes, it will.